So let's talk about when a relationship hits a devaluation phase. Is it really just devaluation, or is it just losing of the passion and romance? I was recently having a conversation talking with a group of people about just regular relationships, not narcissistic relationships. And I was reflecting on early attraction and spark in that zaza zoo that happens at the beginning of a relationship. That's the idea of passionate love. And it burns bright like a supernova, but it can't sustain, right? Passionate love is obsessive. It's calling in sick so you can lie in bed with this new person. It's getting lost in hours of texting. It's spending hours daydreaming about a person. It's believing that you're living in a dreamy, lovey world. And if you're really, really lucky, this passionate love is with someone who gets you and sees you and is empathic and compassionate and great. That's the dream, right? That's the lottery ticket. But the passion part, this is not sustainable, right? There are bills to be paid, classes to attend, jobs to show up to, kids to care for, dogs to wash, dishes to wash, life to live. And the relationship transitions into a different pace. The sex may drop a little in frequency. You may opt to stay in more often. You might quibble a little bit, tiny bit about household chores, nothing big, but enough that it no longer feels as fresh, new, exciting. And there is a perhaps comforting predictability to what is happening in the relationship. However, it's not the same exciting thing. And this transition is an interesting one because you may wonder, is this the beginning of the devaluation phase? Or is this just normal, just sliding into a more stable and companionate space? The early phase of a relationship can sometimes feel like love bombing, even when it is not. The daydreamy stuff, the excitement at seeing someone when it's done well, the beginning of a new relationship really is like no other time in our lives. The world feels like such a new, fresh, exciting place. There feels like so much possibility. You are invigorated and things, again, they feel new. You feel young. And so there is even the fear that because you're just sort of enjoying this new part of the relationship, that it's love bombing, when it really may not fully be. But the slide of a relationship into what can only be called normal, a time of the relationship where, forgive me for being crude, but it's the first time that we sort of pass gas and let our foibles show up in a human way. And there is a difference between the sliding into this normalish phase of a relationship versus what we see in a narcissistic relationship in terms of devaluation. First, the normal phase of the relationship means that there still will be romance and intimacy and other healthy and fun and rewarding and even exciting parts of a relationship. And if it is healthy, there is empathy and compassion and kindness, and you feel seen and heard and safe. And yet you still feel that sense of possibility, but it's tempered into more practical realities. There may be more compromise at this point and an attempt to integrate each other into the other's lives. This is in contrast to the devaluation phase of a narcissistic relationship where the excitement, love bombing, and the intense interest is replaced with what can only be described as indifference, a dismissiveness, a sort of looking sideways at you when you do share feelings or even make simple asks in the relationship. In the devaluation phase, the message is it's my way or the highway. But this is such a contrast to the intensity of that love bombing phase of the relationship you were just in that you may wonder if you're reading it wrong. When you hit the devaluation phase, you are often confused, questioning yourself, wondering if you are the problem. In a relationship that is transitioning out of compassionate and into more romantic, that won't be happening. You won't be confused and upside down and wondering what you did wrong. There's a difference between those two phases. But it's that internal process that is often the main difference. Asking yourself, what did I do wrong? What am I doing wrong? In a relationship that is just settling into a normal pace, you don't question that. You may not even yearn for the excitement of the first few months because you are feeling connected and seen and cherished by someone, and view those early, exciting months as a great memory. But because it feels balanced and healthy, it's not as though you necessarily want to go back, but above all else, you feel stable, safe, seen, and not crazy. Narcissistic people get bored really easily. It's built into the nature of the personality. Narcissistic personalities tend to be novelty seeking, and as a result, any relationship or activity gets uninteresting for them very quickly. Trust me, it's not you. It's why they often have an inattentive, almost hyperactive feel. They're always sort of searching for the next new shiny thing. In a strange way, it's almost as though narcissistic folks can't handle that dopamine excitement, passion, novelty phase can't last forever. And that it's kind of has to come to an end. And they often lash out at the person they are with because it couldn't last forever. Narcissistic people may actually resent you for having a life. For example, that you can't just go on their flights of fancy because you have a job or responsibilities or places to be. But because these relationships are always a double bind, they may also resent you for having a job and other responsibilities. You really can't win. So if you don't have one, if you do have one, you can't win. And so that means that it is all but a guarantee that there will be a slippage into something that feels more like contempt rather than comfort when you transition out of the love bombing phase. The romantic, companionate, but realistic phase of a relationship, if you are lucky, that is where you stay for a lifetime. And of course, as we get older, the healthy companionship wins over everything. Once you have been burned by narcissistic folks, you may find that understanding relationship cycles has been marred by your experience. The passionate stuff can't last forever, even though that is a fantasy for narcissistic folks, that it actually can. The end of the excitement phase of a relationship isn't always a bad thing. It can actually be the portal to the real love story. If it happens, and you are not only not confused, but you feel healthy and whole, then, trust me, that is not the devaluation phase. So there's a difference. And just going out of the passion part into this next phase, it all comes down to how devalued and how confused you really feel. Hope that's helpful, and thanks again.